Okay, so a summary so far. The basic question is, how is it possible that the Chachamim were not Mesaker, a Zeicher to the fact that Purim completes Matan Torah? Kimu v'kiblu, that now they affirmed Kimu, that's the meaning of the pasuk, Mashe kiblu kvar, which they had once upon a time accepted under duress, compelled, Kaf Haleim Har Kigigis. He turned over the mountain over them like a barrel, and hence they stood literally, Visatz Viso Tachti Sahar, they stood underneath the mountain. So that was coercion. But, and therefore, Yidden had a legitimate defense, Meidor Rabbi Leiraisa, for not keeping Torah mitzvahs. But that was still Purim. Purim, Rabbi says, Hoda Kiblu Obe Me'achashverosh. And that's the meaning of Kimu v'Kiblu. So this is such an awesome and essential event. Matan Torah is the whole purpose of creation, and now it comes to its completion. How is there no Zeicher? So the first answer was, according to some of Farshim, there is a Zeicher. The Zeicher, in fact, is all the mitzvahs that are miyuchad, unique to Purim. And the ones that are unique to Purim are Mishleach Monis, Kriyas HaMegillah, Mishleach Monis, and Matanas Avyonim. In what way are they unique? They're unique in the fact that they're not novel, and yet they are novel. The Hainu, we have Kriyas HaTorah, and other Yomim Tovim. We have tzedakah year-round, and we have Tolarecha Kamoicha year-round. What's the chiddush over here? The chiddush over here is that Esther requested it. It came with a mata. Kisvuni l'doiris. The chiddush of Mishleach Monis says, seek out your friend. And the chiddush of Matanas Avyonim over tzedakah is also seek out the oni to give him tzedakah. So in other words, in Bein Adam Lamokim, which is Kriyas HaTorah, Bein Adam Lachaveira, which is Matanas Avyonim, and Mishleach Monis, what do we see? That we're going above and beyond, willingly, desiringly, and that's reflective of the Kima Mashe Kiblu. Here we are doing the basic mitzvahs, representing all the mitzvahs, Bein Adam Lamokim, Adam Lachaveira, but going beyond the mandate, expressing our willingness and desire, Kisvundi l'doiris, seeking out the oni, giving Mishleach Monis, not stam avas Yisrael, but prepared food they can eat and enjoy right away. So here is the answer. Where is the Zeicher to Matan Torah? The answer is in that which is in the very mitzvahs of Purim. However, we can't say that according to the Rambam without repeating all the diukim in the Rambam, because from the Rambam it comes out that Mishleach Monis, Matanas Lavyonim, and the Suda, it's all part of one Nakud of the Simcha of Purim. So it's all part of the Simcha of Purim, and therefore it's not taking the Adam Lachaveire, Adam Lamakim, and bringing it to a new level, expressing desire, as opposed to being compelled, but rather it's part of Mitzvahs Purim. There were many shilas in the Lashonos of the Rambam, as we compare Matanas Levyonim to Hilchas Matnas Aniyim. Only when it comes to Matanas Levyonim does he say Doimel Shechina. Why does he mention about Matnas Aniyim in the laws of Tzedakah? And we, as just mentioned, we demonstrated that even Matanas Levyonim, even though it's more important, Mishleach Monis, as he says, that's what the emphasis should be, but even there, it isn't so much the tzedakah thing, it's the simcha component. Because it says it includes even the orphans and the widows and the brokenhearted. They may not be necessarily poor. It's not a question of physical tzedakah. So this is one of the diyukim, the fact that he connects Matanas Levyonim to the Amonis and the Yesomim, and the unfortunate ones, means that it's all part of lifting their spirit, the Hachis Ruach Shvolim. So according to the Rambam, we don't have an answer as to where the union of Matan Torah is. Where's the Zeichel of Matan Torah? We have to say, yeah? Yeah. So the question we asked was, what's the Rambam's marker? So do we understand this Simcha? What's the source of the Rambam that the Mishleach Monos and Matanas Levyonim is Simcha? And not like the Adam Mefarshim learn that basically Mishleach Monos is to see to it, right from the Gemara, that the other Jew has with what to have a Suda. And Matanas Levyonim likewise. Since the poor person is not just missing the Suda, he's missing basics. We give him money, so the idea is this: it's to go beyond the Suda. That's the logical conclusion as to what's the uniqueness of Mishleach Monos. What's the mark of the Rambam that we proved, we demonstrated it's not that, but rather in of Simcha. So it continues, I say, the Gabi Mishleach Monos, with respect to Mishleach Monos, we could say, what's the Rambam's mark that it's in of Simcha? And not stam, they should have a Suda, your friend should have a Suda. Shaladah, so Rambam, MATAN, Mitzvah Zuikid Eliel, lead to worry, to be concerned. Shalazulas here, die the Sudas Purim, that he should have enough of Sudas Purim. Like the Adam Mefarshim learn. Zeh chelik mechavis hasuda shela Adam atzmai. So what is this? You're giving Mishleach Monos because you're helping that person to fulfill his obligation to eat the Suda. Kedivri Rambam. The Rambam says, how does one fulfill the obligation of the Suda on Purim? He should eat. In that very halacha, talking about a person eating his Suda, he says, and also, he has to send to his fellow 2 prepared foods. If he doesn't have to give him, you exchange with your friend. So according to the Rambam, we could say that no, Shalach Monos is all part of the Suda. And what's the Suda? Is Simcha. Sudas Purim, when you shall Simchas Mitzvah, Mishtav Simcha. The whole point of Sudas Purim is is the Simcha, the Mishnah, and the Simcha. So that is, it seems we've answered with the mock of the Rambam that Mishleach Monos. What's the reason the Mishleach Monos is all part of the Simcha? Answer, because it's part of Sudas Purim. That's all part of the Simcha. Sudas Purim Shalai. And you could also say that give Matanas Levyonim enhances his own Suda, his own Sudas Purim. I think I said the previous paragraph, I think that's incorrect. When he says Atzmai, he means Zechelik Mechavis Asuda Shalach Adam Atzmai. Yeah, that's right. Giving Shalach Monos is part of your obligation in your Suda. Because, as we just quoted, in talking about the Suda, in that context, he says, and give Shalach Monos, it's all part of the Suda. And if you don't have, exchange. So it's all integral to the Suda. Now we could say also that give Matanas Levyonim also is for the person's obligation for Simcha is completed when he gives Matanas Levyonim. How so? So it's all part of the Chiv of Mishtav Simcha that he has. His own Sudas Purim, integral to that is Matanas Levyonim. Kvar Omer Rambam, Lagabi Simchas Yontav, the Rambam says in general about Simchas Yontav. When he eats and drinks, he has to give food to the convert, to the orphan, and to the widow, with the other unfortunate poor. If someone closes the doors of his courtyard and eats and drinks, he and his children with him, and doesn't give food and drink to the poor until the embittered of the soul. This is not a simcha of mitzvah, but the simcha of his stomach. So, all to say that giving matanas davyonim, that is what enhances the person's own simcha. Hence, it's all part of his own simchas purim. But it's hard to say that's the pshat over here in the reason to give matanas davyonim. If you talk about matanas davyonim together with simchas sudas purim, yes, so it's one hamsha. But he discusses it in a separate halacha. And then he goes on to say, you have to give on Purim in a separate halacha to the poor. Unlike Mishleach Monas, he put together with the Suda. He separates Matanas Avyonim. Mishleach Monas, he puts together with the Suda. So therefore, even if we're going to say that Mishleach Monas is what? According to the Rambam, it's all part of the simcha of the Suda. Why are we saying that Matanas Avyonim is also part of the simcha? It seems like it's a separate inyan. And especially, he doesn't mention in the following halacha in connection with Matanas Avyonim, it doesn't go back to if you eat and drink and you don't give, your eating and drinking is worthless. He doesn't say that when he talks about Matanas Avyonim. It doesn't make the point. Like he says in Hilchos Yom Tov. It's understood. Matanas Avyonim is not part of his suda. That's part of the simcha that he has to do. All right, so because we just posited that it was all part of simcha, and now in analyzing that, we're separating Mishleach Monas and Matanas Avyonim. Yosim Mekach Moreover, if Yomalel Yitzhak said before comes out, Mishleach Monas and Matanas Avyonim Einim Minyanim Mifradim Mepurim. Before we had died, Matanas Avyonim, the fact included, right, the orphans and the poor, etc. Not the poor, the orphans and the widows who were not necessarily poor. He included that in Matanas Avyonim, so that was the conclusion. It's all part of what? Of simcha. So now, putting the two together, he says, in light of what we said before, Mishleach Monas Matanas Avyonim, Einim Minyanim Mifradim Mepurim, they're not two separate things. Aleim Chelek Mechavis Asudah Shaloi. Therefore, kasher einu b'kayim have mitzvahs Mishleach Monas Matanas Avyonim einu yetz they karoi they chavis mitzvahs so this purim mishte v'simcha b'daim l'yom tov. Moreover, in light of just to translate, in light of what he said before, Mishleach Monas and Matanas Avyonim is not something separate from Purim, but part of his suda. And if he doesn't mekayim these two things, he himself is not yetz mitzvahs so this purim. Just like Yom Tov, similar to in Hilchos Yom Tov. This is the opposite of the simple meaning that was explained in a minute. Let's just read and we'll put it all together in a minute. And in many places, the three separate mitzvahs. The Rambam says, who says, better to give. There's no greater simcha, more enhanced simcha than to gladden the hearts of the poor. Even if he wouldn't give matanas avyonim, his makayim mitzvahs purim. It's just not enhanced. If he doesn't come to the great simcha of matanas avyonim, but still is makayim the mitzvah. So what are we left with? Let's just go back and get the flow. Let's go back and get the flow. So the question originally was again, where's the Zeichel of Purim? So we answered the Zeichel of Purim is in these unique mitzvahs of Purim that go above and beyond the mandate. Kriyas and Megillah, Kisvuni, she requested it. As we said before, seeking out the poor and seeking out your friend and giving prepared food, etc. However, we rejected that as the final answer because we found there are other reasons why Mishlech Monis in order to Mekayim Sudas Purim. So according to these opinions, it's all about Sudas Purim. So you don't have Kima V'Kiblu. Right? That was the question. To understand this, he introduced the Rambam. And he says that, I'm just summarizing now, that Mitzvahs Matanas Avyonim is not only Tzedakah, and likewise Shalach Monas. Because, as we just said, he says you should increase in Matanas Avyonim more than, why? Because there's no Simcha, more enhanced Simcha than that. To bring joy to the hearts of the poor, the Yisayimim, the Almonas, and the Gerim. Now, and he's Doimel Shechina. So if the Rambam holds that Matanas Avyonim Purim Tzedakah, so this is year round. He should have said this in the laws of Tzedakah. Why doesn't he say it there? Why dafka to Purim in Hilchos Megillah? On the other hand, there he doesn't mention at all in Hilchos Tzedakah the malas he talks about in Hilchos Tzedakah, he doesn't mention here, like in Yisod the Gon Elabit Tzedakah. He doesn't mention the malas he talks about Tzedakah there in Hilchos Purim. So therefore, you have to say it's two separate inyanim. It's not the regular tzedakah. Even though Matas Aniyim on Purim Yimekayim also tzedakah, but the essence of it is what? Not tzedakah, but rather the Sameach Lev Aniyim, to bring joy. And that's why it includes Yisemim and Almonas and Gerim, even though they may not be poor. And he also says, important point there, that the three things, Suda, Shalach Monas, Matanas Avyonim, is all Simcha. They're all Simcha, but he just says that the greatest one is Matanas Avyonim. So then the Rabbi asked, okay, we understand that what the Suda is Simcha, but what's the Rambam's Zimokeh? Where does he learn that even Mishlech Monas, Matanas Avyonim is also Simcha? It was this yesterday. So today we said the God B'Shlech Monis, you can say, because he holds that the reason B'Shlech Monis is essentially to see to what? That you have a Suda. And what's the Suda? The Suda is in Yonei Simcha. And you might want to say also that the same thing is true about Matanas Avyonim. Because if you sit down to a meal and the poor are what? Are hungry, your meal is filling your stomach, there's no big Simcha. So you might want to say that's the marker of why he says it's all part of the inyan of Simcha. So the Rabbi says, Shlach Monas, you could accept that, but not Matanas Avyonim. Why? Because he puts it in a separate halach. Puts it in a separate halach, not be'emshech to Sudas Purim. And also, what we said before, The Mishlech Monis Matanas Avyonim is not something separate. That's what we were saying. It's all part of his Suda. This was the suggested answer now. Then the problem with that is it's Hepech from that which it says in many places that they're separate mitzvahs. You're Yoitze without it. You're Yoitze mitzvahs Purim without emphasizing Matanas Avyonim or even giving Matanas Avyonim. But that's not complete. So it's in essence a separate mitzvah, Matanas Avyonim. So what we're left with now is that you could explain Mishlech Monis is part of the Simcha. Matanas Avyonim is a separate thing, even though it also enhances your Simcha. So what are we left with? Left with, according to the Rambam, where is the Zeicher for what? For Matan Torah. That's the next question. Okay. Now, Oisvav, a Hezbollah Cholzel, the explanation is as follows, all of the above. So get a conclusion. According to Rambam, we concluded that he could taichtak at the Mishlech Monis is part of Simchas, part of the Suda. Matanas Avyonim enhances the Suda, but still a separate mitzvah fundamentally. Fine, but where's the Zeicher, the what? The Purim. Unlike the first Mefarshim that said it's all taking the classic mitzvahs and taking them beyond. According to the Rambam, we have said it's all in the general category of Simcha. Shlech Monis, the Suda, Matanas Avyonim, separate but enhancing. We still don't have a Zeicher. That's right. That's the net result of the analysis of the Rambam. So what's the answer to all of the above? The Lashon of the Megillah, Shemisham Lemdim Shalosh HaMitzvahs, from which we learned that we're obligated to do these three mitzvahs, which is Mishta, Suda, Mishtach Monis, Ishte L'Re'eu, Matanas Avyonim. What's the Lashon of the Megillah? Who? He is, quote, the Yidden took upon themselves, Lasis Oisam Yemei Mishta V'Simcha Mishtach Monis, Ishte Matanas Avyonim. The Yidden took upon themselves to make days, plural. Days of Mishta and Simcha, Shtachmonas, and Matanas Avyonim. Minamili may move. From these words, days is opposed to what? Day. Chayvas Mishta v'Simcha b'Purim inena pu'ula shetzadich la'aseh v'shes manahu b'yom zeh. It's not that the Mishta and Simcha of Purim is not something you have to do on this day. They're two separate things. The days are Yemei Mishta v'Simcha. Not on these days you are to be joyous. That's the essence of the day. Teitzah mikach shinyon shel yom zeh Yemei Mishta v'Simcha. You have to give Mishlech Monis and Matanas Avyonim and have a Suda because as a result that these days are days of Mishta v'Simcha. And the pasuk again, Asaysam, last is Asaysam, Yemei Mishta v'Simcha, days of feasting and rejoicing. And as a consequence of that, Mishlech Monis and Matanas Avyonim. And the Mishta v'Simcha. You have to understand the difference between this and what? And Sukkos. It's Man Simcha Seinu. You say this is not the same thing. We'll look in the orders here. I see it just a little bit. Let's go further. Therefore, since it says Yemei Mishta v'Simcha, therefore the other in Yonim Purim lePachas HaChayuv Maksubim BeHemshech Eisei Pasuk, at least those things mentioned in the very same pasuk of Yemei Mishta v'Simcha which is Mashlech Monish, Matnas Avyonim, Gam Heim Teitzo Mikach, they are also a result. Sheyom Meila Atzmam Hem Yemei Mishta V'Simcha. These days themselves Yemei Mishta V'Simcha. Let's go further a little bit. And this, that the days themselves become Yemei Mishta V'Simcha, as opposed to Yom Tov, we have a chiyuv on Yom Tov to have a Suda. It's not a chiyuv on Yom Tov to have the Suda. This is the whole definition of Purim is Suda, is Mishta V'Simcha. Einay nimse b'chagim moedim acher. We run from this body Yom Tov. So that's the diak zman. Zman simchaseinu means this is a day, and on this day it's the time that you're obligated to have a suda, to be misameach. You're obligated to be misameach on this day. So you got to bring simcha to the day. But on Purim, the day is, its whole definition is simcha. Not you have a chiyuv of simcha on this day. The whole day is Yemei Simcha. That's the diuk that we don't find by any other Yom Tov. Now this is the connection and the answer to they accepted which Kima Shekibla Kvar. In as much that these days themselves are days of Mishta V'Simcha, Mizbata is expressed. This is what gives expression to the fact that Purim completes Matan Torah. The opposite of being forced. For now, they're accepting it willingly. He's going to elaborate, but he's already established the answer. What's the nakud of the answer? The nakud of the answer is, it's not a specific mitzvah, it's inyan atzmi. It's inyan atzmi, which is unique to Purim. What's the whole celebration, the whole Yemei Mishta V'Simcha? Because we have completed the contract, the marriage, Matan Torah. That's what makes these days, in essence, days of joy. And as a result of that, Simcha, Mishta, Shalach Modes, and MATAN Avyonim. Are we clear on the answer? It's going to be more now on Zion. But that's the Chiddush. The Chiddush of Purim. And why are they Yemei Simcha? Now let's take this even further. It's not Pshat. How do you get happy on Purim? You have a Suda. Be truly happy, Matan Avyonim. No, you are happy b'simcha, and therefore there's a Suda and all the things will follow. So why are you happy? Why are you happy? The simcha, and in such a simcha, as it goes on to say, describe the detail of it, because this day completes the whole Matan Torah. Going further, Yashleima, so it's an inyan klali. The Yemei Simcha inyan klali, because it's the klalistic general tremendous achievement of Purim that completes the whole covenant. Is about to be so the expression of the fulfillment of Matan Torah is expressed where? In the unique way we celebrate Purim. We don't find it in any other Yom Tov any other obligation. And what is that? Al mitzvah suda, with respect to the suda, the Rambam writes, so what do you do? You should eat. And he said, shalachmonas to someone who doesn't have, and if you don't have, exchange, all of that. And it concludes, he drinks wine until he becomes intoxicated and dozes in his inebriation. What's the market for such halacha? Rabbi says, the person has to drink and PURIM, become intoxicated, they can't distinguish between curse and Baruch Mordechai. And so Rama Paskins at the halacha. Many say, Stam is going to bring it. Many say that's not the halacha, because right after this, the Gemara tells the story of Rabbi Zera, where Rabbi Shechter Rabbi Zera. So many the poskim learn that the Gemara tells that story to say that the halacha is not like Rav. Look what happened. But Rambam Paskins it is. The Chayram, which is very strange. Ashikra saying intoxication is not the proper conduct. If you like the Mefarshim on this halacha say. The Mefarshim on the Megillah, not on the Rambam. Like I just told you, that the story of Rabbi Zayd, actually, the Gemara brings it to say, don't do it. The Rambam himself writes, he writes that the best we should send out officers to make sure it didn't get out of hand. And he says, drinking and levity is not simcha, it's levity, it's emptiness. And he goes on to say that it brings to the worst Avedas. The Kate said, how all of a sudden now, no obligation. Shoyse yain, he drinks wine, and she becomes intoxicated of Yeroda B'Shikrusa, and he dozes. Now the answer is, Eshel HaHazbir is Zayis Tefi Om Aliyel. That's what is beginning the answer now. The answer is on the contrary, in this unique kind of simcha, this is the climactic point of what? Of Kabbalah Satira. Kabbalah Satira, no less. Is Dafka here. How? Kivin, it's a lady beer here. Kivin, she may put him, Miskayim, can never be Gemara. Since PURIM, what's PURIM? It was fulfilled, as Gemara says. They're affirming now what they accepted once before. Ashleim, Kabbalah Satira. It's the completion of Kabbalah Satira. What's Torah? Torah is revelation of Hashem's will and wisdom. Chem dog gnuza, the hidden treasure. Therefore, no finite creature who's limited his understanding can absorb God's infinite wisdom. Therefore, what happened to MATAN Torah called when Hashem spoke, with every word, their souls expired. Therefore, similarly, even more intensely, now they're accepting the Torah in the time of Achashverosh. So therefore, to accept the Eibishter's Torah is no intellectual exercise, friends. So you just to come to a level of transcending and divesting himself of his materiality, of rationality, going beyond it, just like MATAN Torah. And this time not forced on you, but coming from you. And this is similar, but this is similar, it says in Torah, and brought down in the codes. What? Like the way the former generations, the pious and men of good deeds used to daven, the person davens. It should be, he should see himself as the Shekhinah stands before him. What do they write? I show you, they used to seclude themselves and focus on their davening. They came to a level of divesting themselves from in a trance-like state. and the nefesh, that's how nefesh is described, overpowering the guf, and they came to a similar state of a nevuah, and we know the Navi state of a nevuah was in this trance. It's called the Meshuggah. That's what they were called. The body is shaking, and he's in the transcendent, eyes bulging, unaware of his environment. Why? Because he's connecting to something entirely higher, the ultimate meditative state. He didn't reach that state on Purim through the Mesiras Nefesh and devotion, going beyond all limits and boundaries of rationale of the body. He goes on to describe that's the inyan of Adal Yoda. That's a meditic Adal Yoda. It's a complete bittul higher than seichel, and connecting to Matan Torah from the depth of the person, connecting to the depth of a likus higher than seichel. And that's what's unique to Purim. It's the climactic experience of Purim. And what is all this? That's the completion of what? Of Matan Torah. To be elaborated upon, completed by Hashem tomorrow.